I'm a talk to the monsters player. I'm a find out what made the bad guy decide that he needed to slaughter the whole village kind of player. It's Tuesday. It's tea time. Let's talk about TPKs. TPK is an abbreviation because of course it's an abbreviation. Do we ever say anything without abbreviating it when we're into something like this? D&D, even the name of it. D&D. Dungeons and Dragons. Who says Dungeons and Dragons? Nobody. Nobody says Dungeons and Dragons. We all say D&D. AC, armor class. We don't say armor class, we say AC. Even so far back as the olden days when I fell off the dinosaur and broke my club, THACO, 2 hit an armor class of 0, which nobody actually had an armor class of 0, and if they did have an armor class of 0, you were completely screwed. So then you had to add numbers. It was the whole thing. I had to make a chart. We have since moved past that into other complicated rules, but I digress. TPK stands for Total Party Kill, which means that every member of your player character party has been obliterated and died. And that's just not good storytelling. It's not good for a story. How are you characters need to go from point A to the end, to the climax, do the thing, get the denouement. It's basic storytelling. Yeah, and maybe somebody dies. Maybe 1, maybe 2 people, if it's thematically appropriate. But the whole party, nobody's gonna read that book. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I am not a fan of player character death. It's not something that speaks to me. It's not something that I put in my toolbox. It is last resort only. I'm prepared for a storm of comments that say if there is no risk of the players dying, then there is no point to play. You are allowed to have your opinion, but I disagree with you. I approach role-playing and storytelling both from a story perspective, and the story centers around the characters. If the characters are not there to move the story along, there is no story, there is no movement. I know there are a lot of people who do not care about the overarching story or whether their adventures are going to be made into novel form. Here's a hot tip. If all you want to do is push little models around a table, roll some dice, and kill some things, I have another miniature game for you that you're gonna love. You should go check out Warhammer 40k. It'll be amazing. The equivalent of a TPK there is called tabling your enemy. And the whole point of the game is to try and obliterate your enemy and try to win. As opposed to D&D, where to me... Oh, really? You don't agree with me? Oh, okay. I hear your argument, sir. Oh, is this your channel now? He's giving me what for? Have I not done something for you? Oh, both cats. I'm popular. My cats obviously have very strong opinions about this matter as well. I'm a fan of storytelling, and the first part of that is story, meaning that the story should have prevalence. We are telling a story collaboratively around a table. I don't know about you, but I am aiming for something to be put on the bestseller list once I, actually put pen to paper and chronicle all of these adventures. I want deep character interaction. I want growth that is spurred by conversation and action. I want struggle. I want a try-fail cycle. I do not want to have to fear my character's imminent demise every time I get into a fight because my game master doesn't know how to properly balance an encounter. I'm just saying that even on the fly, there is a way to balance things so that your characters, your players, as long as they're not being, pretty, can figure a way out. The tension is important. The threat should be there, but it should not be so prevalent that it causes your players to not have fun or to stress about a game. This is a game, after all. We are playing a game, and games should be fun. What do I know? I'm just some chick on the internet who has been playing tabletop role-playing games for longer than she cares to admit. Back in the old days when I fell off my dinosaur. I don't know why I become Canadian when I get old. Do you want to come up in my lap? You guys want me to get up and stop recording? That's not gonna happen. I have to do this. I have a video I have to get out tomorrow. Back in my day, we had to have paper books. There were no digital dice. You had to have real, physical polyhedrals. And they weren't pretty. They were all opaque and just general colors. And girls didn't play D&D. It was an evil game. What happens when you do a TPK? Who's there to continue the story? The threat of failure should always be present. You should have something to motivate your characters. But, the love of the story is worth a lot more than fear of obliteration of their character. Giving your player characters motivations to get something done is like... Really? Is this what you wanted? You wanted my affection? You wanted my love? What a sweet old man. I might have to go get some allergy eye drops because I am allergic to my cats, but I love them too much. Listen, if you're a DM and you frequently have TPKs with the same group of players and they enjoy it, I would really love to know your secrets. How do you accomplish this? How do you keep people from getting up and walking away from your table, never to return? How do you avoid critically dismantling your friendships every time this happens? Tell me your secrets, TPK gurus, because I would not sit at a table with a DM who let a TPK happen. I personally, and this is my opinion is my own, it does not have to match yours, it's okay for us to disagree, but my opinion is that if you allow a TPK to happen, you're a bad DM. I don't want to play with you. Unless we were really stupid, even if the dice rolls were terrible, unless we as players went into something eyes open and chose the bad end, how are you as a storyteller letting us die? I can see, wait, I can see letting some people die. As long as, we can get their remains and have them razzed, that's okay. That's a thing. It's built into the world. But all of us? Every single one? Please explain to me how you go about spending hours and hours crafting a story with the intent to murder your players' fun. I do not understand. I don't know that I will ever understand. Seriously, I highly recommend, if that is your goal, if you just want to move miniatures around a table and you want to roll dice and slaughter things, please go try 40K. It's just as much of a time commitment. If you're buying all the miniatures and the terrain, it's just as much of a monetary commitment. But that's the point of that game. So that's just my personal advice. D&D should be fun. It's a game. We play games to have fun. That's the whole point. And I am not every player. I am not the everyman. Obviously, I like certain tropes. I like certain genres. To me, if it doesn't have romance, I don't want it. I gotta have at least a thread of romance, usually crafted with another PC, because they're there all the time. Because we get to like glance at each other across the fire and do heroic things to save each other from certain doom, and have those little moments, the little moments of like going out to find just the right book for your wizard friend, or like, you know, saving up to buy that magical item that they've been eyeing. You know, cute stuff. That and the mystery. I'm in it for the mystery. I'm in it to find out who the killer is. Not just who done it, but why, how, when, and where. And then to fix the problem as best I can. I am a talk to the monsters player. I am a find out what made the bad guy decide that he needed to slaughter the whole village kind of player. I am not the player who's like, oh, he slaughtered the whole village, that obviously means he needs to die. I'm like, why? Even with my most combat oriented characters. Okay, let me be honest. In the realm of all of the characters that I have created, there is one character who would hear that some dude slaughtered the whole village and be like, okay, he needs to die. Tell me where I can find him. I'll make sure that he doesn't bother you anymore. And that is my tiefling rogue, Hope, who never thought that she would have a family. But she has one now with her party. God's help anyone who comes between her and them. But all of my other characters would have been like, well, why did he do it? What pushed him? We should understand why this has happened. Because if it's just one guy doing bad things, then yes, like, bringing him to justice will fix it. But if there's an underlying cause, like, what if the Red Wizards of Thay are, like, forcing him to do bad things because they have his family held hostage? You know, that's different, because the bad things are probably still going to happen. The Red Wizards of Thay are just going to go and find another person to kidnap their family or blackmail them in some way to get the terrible things done. Death should be powerful. It should be emotional. It should be a motivator for the character to survive. I was on Reddit and I was scrolling through things, you know, looking for video ideas and whatnot. And I found this one thread and it was like, I want to do a campaign where level 20 characters make a wish and then the world resets and they get erased from history and they start back as level 4s. And somebody commented, why would a level 20 character use a wish spell? Death should be the kind of thing that you're like, okay, we're going to combine our wish spells to get our friend back from death's doorstep. How many epic poems do we have about death and triumphing over death or the loss of someone, right? Come on, it's an ever-present, every single one of us is going to have to face it. It should not be treated with the lack of respect that a TPK, you know, is. Because what happens to your story? Does everybody just bring in their twin brother Steve, who has the same exact stats and skills as their dead character? Where's the connection between characters that you're going to bring in to finish this campaign off? Or is it just dead? Is it just gone? Do you just start something else? Like, all of the work that you put into that, you're just okay with tossing that out of the window? Seems like a waste of time and effort to me. I don't want to do that as a player. I don't want to do that as a storyteller. I want to challenge my players, yes. I want to have them figure out problems, puzzles, riddles. I want them to do the exploring and have an investigation. I want them to figure out the mystery. But I don't want to kill every person at the table to prove, I don't know, my authority or my superiority or whatever it is that these, because every DM that I have ever played with who has been the type of DM to kill characters always has had some sort of like superiority thing. I don't know. I don't pretend to understand the motivations of people that I am diametrically opposed to. So I don't know if you have some insight for how they think. Really, the problem here is that the people who are into doing TPKs are usually also the people who don't communicate with their players, who don't, warn them in advance from, I don't know, session 0, the first time they sit around the table, that this is a real possibility, or it's likely, or, they tell stories about the last time they TPK'd a party. TPK out of anybody's mouth is a red flag for me. The moment that abbreviation comes out of anybody's mouth, I am on red alert going, okay, what went wrong here? Because something went wrong here. Who's your DM so I can never play with them? Like, what, did you have a problem player? Was this retaliatory? Was this supposed to be instructive in some way? I don't understand. I can't fathom why any storyteller would do that to their group. So yeah, personal opinion, TPKs suck. They should never happen. Anybody who does it at least needs to communicate that they're in the market for a TPK. There are better ways to handle things. If you're going to do it in a retaliatory thing because your players aren't paying attention, that's when you have an out of character discussion. That's when you're like, hey, I really need for you to buy into the game, or I need for you to tell me that you're not interested anymore so I can make room at the table for someone who is. I understand that a lot of D&D groups are friend groups who have gotten together in order to have some social time, and the D&D part is not a huge, important part of the meeting. It is the social time that is under the veneer of coming together to do something together. And you just want to eat chips and drink soda and talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about that's not the game at hand. I understand that is the dynamic for a lot of people. I've been in that dynamic before. I've been in the dynamic where the game was the reason for the social gathering, and the social gathering was more important than the game. I still don't think that a TPK is reasonable even under that scenario. Can we all just treat people like they are worth respect and communication, and talk to them, and if we have a problem, tell them that there is a problem instead of trying to teach them a lesson? Because I don't know why else somebody would do a TPK except to teach their players a lesson, or to prove that they're superior, which if you have to prove that you're superior, you're automatically inferior. Sorry, I don't make the rules. I just spout facts. So yeah, in this essay, I have gone on and on and on about how TPKs are bad. I don't like them. I don't understand why they happen. And that is my opinion piece for this time. And I hope that you have enjoyed the ranting. I hope that you, as DMs, will understand that you have a responsibility to your players. And TPKing is not acceptable unless every single player at your table understands that it's possible and has signed in 100% with enthusiastic consent to have their character murdered. Just don't be a dick. Really and truly, that's the number one rule here. Don't be a dick. When you sit at the head of the table and you take the reins of the story and you commit to taking on the trust of your players, you are entering into a sacred duty. You gather your players' souls into your hands. You should treat them gently. You should treat them kindly. You should give them only as much pain and grief as they need to grow. Yes, the characters are suffer puppets a majority of the time. We want the anguish. We want the edge. We want all of that pathos, right? But we want it on our terms. We want to be able to have some agency and some control over what kind of pain and grief and emotional distraughtness our characters go through. I love a player who will drag their character through the mud and clap chains on them and just torture them. But there has to be a reason, right? I'm not here for suffer puppet's sake. I am here for growth. I am here for story. I am here for catharsis, right? The point of the game is to get something out of it. What are you getting out of it? What are you getting out of a TPK? What are your players getting out of a TPK? Tell me. Help me understand, because I do not. Persuade me. Thank you for being here. I didn't warn you on the last video, but I'm going to warn you this time. This is not a D&D channel. If you are only here for D&D, please do not subscribe. I do lots of stuff. The tagline here is crafting a life worth living, and there is going to be crafting and sewing and things like that. And if you are not into that, if you do not want to hear me talk about LARP, if you do not want to hear me talk about writing, this is not going to be the channel for you. I appreciate you. I am trying to make sure that I keep the playlists populated. If you're only here for D&D stuff, you should probably follow my D&D playlist and not actually subscribe to the channel. I am doing okay for subscribers right now. I really, really need the watch time. So if you are actually interested in me and the things that I do, if you would be willing to go and watch some of my other videos and give me some more of your precious seconds of watch time, I'm very close to the lowered threshold for monetizations where I can begin to offer channel memberships. I just need the watch time. Other than that, thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me your time. I really appreciate you. Please do me a favor. Make sure that you are adequately hydrated. Eat something nutritious. Do something that feeds your soul, because we are only here for a short time. Remember that whole thing that death is inescapable? Yeah, we should make it count. We should make it matter. You should craft a life worth living. Please take care of my friend. I promise I will do my very level best to take care of yours. Hi, doggo. Can you go lay down? Go lay down? Lay down. He always wants to be here while I'm recording.